Good evening. Welcome to this week's swing meeting. I have to smile whenever I say that. Anyway, the swinging club. Tonight, it's same sort of format as normal, looking at potential swing trades on the daily basis, maybe as low as the 4 hourly basis in terms of entries, but really looking at the direction coming from the dailies. As ever, looking for swings, looking for retracements into moves, maybe even breakouts. We'll see. Divergences if they're in the right place. So that's what we're looking for. If you've got stuff that you want to share with me, do so on the chat. Good evening, everyone. That's popping in now. So what I'm going to do is get cracking straight away, run through what I'm looking at. I'm going to look through the major 6-7 pairs across with the US dollar, and then we'll see what else is available there. I'm going to run through some of them very fast because there's just not a great deal of setup. Before I do any running through though, just so we're on the same page for the news this week, I'm just going to use Forex Factory for a moment in terms of what's coming out this week, so you're aware of. There we go. Let's go into this week. Would be good. So bank holiday today, quietish day in the markets. Coming out as we go through the week. Just last week we had inflation coming out from the US, two lots, and both had quite a big impact on the markets. So this is why I'm doing this first, particularly with the last week we were looking for the CPI. I think it was on a Tuesday evening afternoon. Funny enough, I've got some Canadian CPI this time. It won't have the same impact across the majors. It will no doubt have some impact across the Canadian dollar, but it shouldn't have such an impact as the US dollar data, obviously. So we got that coming out. We do have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out on Friday evening. Generally, he says, it's always dangerous saying that, but generally the data does come out in line with what's been said, but you never know. The important-ish day on Thursday, it's got a bit of a mixed record here, but we've got the flash manufacturing services data coming out for the European region, the UK and the US. So it's a busy old day with the data coming out there. We can get some volatility kicking around these, particularly as most of them you'll see are below 50, which is in contraction. The UK data, we expect the services at least to be, they're looking for it still to be expanding. It's outperforming the rest of the European data for sure. And certainly with the US figures later on. Now, if these were missed, we could see some reasonable movements, but I don't think they're not the sort of inflation type moves that we would expect. Okay, so we should do that. Well, I know we do it on a daily basis, but we should just look at it from a swing perspective as well. Evening pivot, man. Right, so let's look at the markets then. The euro dollar itself. The euro is still broadly in this downward trend. I say broadly, it's trying its best here on the 4 hours to do something. It's given us a higher low, marginal higher low here. If you ever get the idea, it's just going to be chopping out sideways today. It came back, hit its daily pivot. It's really quite, to me, if I was looking at this for the upside, I'd want to see it, well, dare I come back here to the lower time frames, you see it just a bit clearer. I've got to break out all of this resistance that's sitting there. It's clearer on the lower time frames. You can see it on 4 hours here as well. But I want to see it break through that lot, maybe a break, retest and swing to the upside. I don't have a lot of faith in the euro. It's been sold. It's not been, the sentiment's not good on it. I would much prefer to be shorting it in terms of the pattern, and it looked earlier on like that it was going to be a potentially good short from here. As I say, it bounced off its daily pivot. We'll see what comes of it, but it's there. I would like to see it continue on this southbound, but it's a difficult one there. The pound, no chance for me at the moment in terms of either way. It would really be throwing a coin, so we won't spend any time. Well, I'm not spending time there unless you guys got better ideas. The dollar yen, I expect this. The sentiment from a commitment of traders reports is bullish on the US dollar, or weak, should I say. It's bearish on the yen, full stop. Not the dollar yen, but the yen. So we could be seeing further upside on this. Now we're getting, of course, retail traders coming in, and we will get retail traders in on the dollar yen and of course the euro yen. In fact, the euro yen is the most shorted of all of them at the moment, because of course it's pushing up, but there'll be a lot of money lost there, methinks. As I said, the sentiment for the yen is weak against this, and relatively modest again, still on the US dollar. So we could, not just technically but sentimentally, we could see this push up further. Haven't got an immediate entry. Maybe something will come through from it. I was looking back at the 4 hourlies here. We'll see how things develop. It's not one I would want to trade overnight, and sometimes I'm looking at sort of 10 o'clock ish and see what's happening, but it's putting in one of my ugliest, or what I think is one of the ugliest patterns really here, when it becomes really risky. You're getting lower highs and higher lows, and it becomes this sort of pennanty pattern, and they're pretty unreliable. You're not much better than the 50-50, if that. Aussie dollar sentiment is weak, but we've still been seeing this move up here. Sorry, I'll bring it back to the dailies. I was looking at the original head and shouldery pattern, the swings that were coming down here, expecting more. It got there to a degree last Tuesday. It sold off there but didn't hold on. The news came out on that actually as a news-based move. Maybe again, I really want to be with this bigger trend. I do realize it's doing its best to break that trend. It has actually put in a new high here today. Was it today? No, that was Friday. Beg your pardon. Sunday. Was part of Friday technically, but it's still hanging around there. The more it hangs around its highs, potentially it's got more upside. Ideally, I'd like to be with the sentiment, which is bearish. I'm leaving it alone at the moment. I'm not trying to be first in. Sometimes you get a nice move at the bottom of a move and you think, well, that's nice, but it's not for me on this occasion. US dollar CAD, well, the CAD from a sentiment point of view is holding its own. The technicals here though are becoming a bit of a test. Now I have got an alert already sitting below the lows here, looking for the break, lower high coming through on the 4 hourlies. We'll see what happens. With the CPI out tomorrow, it might be worth waiting. It's alright, my brain's actually kicking in gear as I'm going through these. It's amazing. The New Zealand dollar, although it's actually putting a rounded bottom in, so it's okay, but it's doing the right things on the 4 hourly. The sentiment's been quite decent on it, but I just brought it down to this time frame because it's got the quarterly pivot on it, and you can see it's been tapping around on this around this 4 hourly pivot for a while here. It will. Well, we'll see what can come from it. Last week I was looking at it on the upside for a move back to this pivot when we were talking in the swing market, I seem to remember. There we are. Was it Monday? There we go. Was it? Maybe it wasn't. We'll see. Anyway, I was looking for a move back in and beyond. I would like to see a break of the monthly pivot here, and I could be on a long, and the sentiment's gone quite nicely on the New Zealand dollar at the moment, and the technicals we could be breaking. We effectively double bottom. This would be the neckline of the lows here, and around this area would be, as I say, would wait until the pivots hit. It might just run into that pivot and roll over. The quarterly pivot by that time will have been hit and passed as well if it breaks. So it's on my watch list there, New Zealand dollar for long, but I'm waiting patiently. Swissy, bit of a mixed bag this, but it is weakening against the dollar. The US dollar's been pushing up. You can see what patterns coming underneath there. It's a bit another one of these sort of pennanty patterns. It's quite ugly at the moment. In fact, it's a bit more flaggy to the down. That's exactly it. The technical term for it is bleh. Right, moving on. Euro yen. So euro yen, I just see upside on this potential on the bigger scale of things. Would have been nice if it come back into its weekly pivot, of course, but it has the momentum in this move on the bigger time frame. We're at this double top area where we'll probably be getting even more shorts on there. The retail sentiment is very bearish on it, and I'm sure we'll have a retail market, but the retail market only accounts for about 6% of the overall market, so reality, that's not really going to hold us back too much. It's really what the big money's thinking. The yen is not seen as quite so strong. The euro is not that great either, but technically it's still pushing up there. It may be waiting for a little, on the 4-hourly basis, a breakout and retest and go. I am watching it. Certainly not looking on the short side. Euro pound, we could be getting a ride back up on this. It's been in a bigger range. If we come out to the weeklies, whoops, come on. It's been in this sort of bigger range, and hence why the support levels have drawn on there from these previous resistance points, support area. Could get a bigger kicker from that. Again, would like to see it above the pivot. If I'm going to have a look at it, there will be some divergence. The move above the pivot would be the trigger point for a move off the divergence. Euro Aussie is too choppy here. Euro CAD, I'm still short on this. It seems like I've been saying that for a couple of months now. Just not going for me. Euro New Zealand, it's looking like a better breakdown. It's put a pivot swing in here on the dailies. This could roll over some more. It has got some near-term support potentially, but lower highs coming through. There's certainly a possibility. We'll see how that develops and maybe look at it first thing in the morning. If it goes through the Asian session, I'll have missed it, but we'll see. I'm looking, I could put a sell stop on it. Just want to have a look at the weeklies of this just to get a bigger picture here what is coming. See if it starts breaking down. It's sort of got into this zone of lower highs coming through. It's already put one lower high in. On the bigger swing side of things, a break of those lows would be quite nice. Now I'm talking about the sentiment in it, and the sentiment on the New Zealand dollar is currently better. It's fickle on a New Zealand dollar. It can swing for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden it's sort of back on the retreat. So we'll see. But bigger picture here, looks like it's got some scope for a continuation. It could be a sell stop. Like the pound Aussie, it's madness. I was looking at this earlier during the last week. We were looking at it a few times in the trader, and there you go, the breakdown here. When was that? Thursday, and it did eventually break down. It might have got ahead of itself. It didn't trade it because of the inflation data coming out on the Friday, and it was quite quiet at the time. It's quite ugly as it sits, but we are seeing the sort of commodities just pick up a little bit better. Questionable one really on it. Pound CAD just dancing along, not going anywhere. The CAD's stuck, and the pound yen. In terms of the yen pairs, there's probably better yen pairs to be trading. The pound yen is struggling a little bit, and I talked about this last week in terms of we were looking at some of, was it this Swiss yen? I can't remember which one it was now. No, it wasn't. It might be in the CAD yen, but it's just drifting up there slowly. Well, I think it was the CAD yen. Yep, that looks familiar. But it's just drifting up slowly like everything else. I think the dollar yen, when you look at the bang for the buck, maybe have been better at some stage, but they're all much of the sameness. That is probably me done there. So there's not a great deal. I've got a few of these highlighted. I'm be interested in your views. I will look at things like oil here because I missed anything on it today, but I am looking at oil with the view of potentially grabbing along on this, maybe with a stop below the lows here, making it a bit more of a swing. I tend to sort of trade this over short-term swings and day trades, but it's not been with the market as it was today. And I say as it was today, the U.S. market's close to Labor Day, President's Day. I wasn't interested, but it's got scope. Sorry, I don't know why it came down to a 60-minute. There we go. You see the underside, the 4 hourlies, the knocking on the door there. It could well get a break of these highs here. So crude is interesting to me for a long. I think we might have some more upside. We're still seeing obviously geopolitical stuff going on, so I'm watching out for that. Okay, what else was there? Gold. We tend to have a quick look at gold. I think gold is catching is doing better than maybe it should be. The sentiment's sort of falling away from gold at the moment. It tends to drift off a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. It's sort of bear flaggy. I haven't got an immediate setup. The flag itself might come into something. Could be looking at a sort of a conservative breakdown there. It's got very ugly. I mean, it does anyway, but it's been particularly ugly of late, which is that sort of to and throwing. S&Ps before I guys, just type anything you've got in there. By the way, if you've got nothing, just chuck nothing. Particularly Mike, you've got a good eye. Okay, so the S&Ps not really doing too much today. Not a great surprise here with the markets close. I was just having a look to see if anything better. I'm still looking at them, thinking about the more bullish side of things here. Potential for continuation. I think it might be something on the shorter term swings that give us better opportunities to break the highs here and continuation, but it could be quite exhausted in terms of its move, and we could get more consolidation around these highs here, but the bias is certainly not for the short side. Nothing from you, Mike. Okay, Dean, thanks. New Zealand CAD. Okay, I'll come back and have a look at that. There are some really ugly looking things going on. Take it you're looking on the long side on this. Yeah, it's got I think it's Mike actually mentioned the rounded bottom that's sitting on here. It's got a bit of a pivot swing sort of sitting in there, the low data. This is certainly a potential. In terms of target wise, you could be facing some resistance into these this previous area. I'm just going to switch this onto weekly for a moment and see what's going on here. But if we can break that, I'm just looking, it's a real sort of shaper. It may be wishful thinking this New Zealand dollar is going to outperform. If oil really gets a bit of a push on, it might just slow things up there. With the Canadian dollar tends to obviously do well from that, but it's certainly looking like a potential. Link, okay. We'll link, waiting for a close above the weekly pivot. Okay, I need to go down to 4 hourly time frame to look at that. Okay, it's not far off it, is it? It's on mine at least. Assuming you're referring to chain link, it's not far off the weekly pivot. It's quite consolidated. All these Bitcoin etc. is just have a quick look at Bitcoin. It's holding up there, and it's holding up there better than, and it might just go on the coattails if not on its own. Looked at gold, Mem. It's erring for me towards the downside at the moment. Yeah, Bitcoin would be a potential better retrace. The only thing is, if it does it now, it might be on a bigger scheme of things. Let's just look at this in terms of weekly point of view. This is a weekly with monthly pivots on and yearly pivots, by the way. You see how the yearly pivot held it up last year for a goodly amount of time. It's well above at the moment. It's into its R1 though. It's yearly R1 at the moment, and that in itself might just hold it. It might provide it with a bit more resistance at this stage and stall the action. It's Martin. Oh, okay. Panicking. Okay. So yeah, Mem gold. I'll just go over it again if I can find it quickly for you. I'll use that one. That'll do. But yeah, I mean it's in a descending channel. If anything, I guess there is scope. If it breaks the upper side of the channel, and it might be driven by a conflict, of course. It's sort of sitting there in the middle of it at the moment, and I'm just sort of looking at that, thinking I'm almost looking bear flaggy on it. Okay. You want me to look at stocks now? Apple. Where are you? Hadn't chosen Apple Daily. Yep, that's a possibility. That ugly old drop down there on the earnings report. That's a possibility. But of course, closed day today. So we'll see what happens, but that could be a move, Dean. Okay, I think I've covered most things, guys, that we normally look at. Oh, sorry, float. Missed your. Oh, managed to get myself in a mess here. Let me look at that comment you was making there. Sorry, good evening to you. Euro pound, right, let's just have a look at that. Sorry, I skipped past it. You were looking at the euro pound on a monthly weekly time frame. Okay, switch back. Euro pound. Yeah, okay, so you're seeing a similar sort of I assume you're looking at the longer side of it, the possible bounce. Okay, yeah. So the potential bounce, right? Sorry, I've got it covered it anyway. Last week, well, I'm still in that Euro CAD, which is it seems to be on the road of nowhere from last week. The New Zealand dollar I came out earlier. I had been in New Zealand dollar. I closed that for a very small loss in the end. It just wasn't going anywhere, and I was just looking at this point with the momentum changing. Technically, it was changing at the time. That must have been on Friday the 9th. I can't remember when I closed it now. I'll have to have a look back, but. I came out of it. It was just showing. It given us a higher low as well. So it was just a case of, with the structure change. Oh, of course. Was there anything else on there as well? Yes, interest rates. They were talking about increasing interest rates instead of reducing them, and I just thought, I don't want to be in this. I don't want to be in the risk, so I pulled out. So that was the reason. I knew there was a logical reason as well as a technical reason and a sentiment reason. Oh, Apple just got a big fine. Okay. It's nothing to them. No, they're so cash rich. It'll just be a little scratch on the side, Dean. You should know me. I only ever trade in Berkshire Hathaway. What are these trading for at the moment? Oh, only 610,000 a share. Look at that. That's the prime thing you want to be in. Just remortgage. New Zealand dollar, nice double bottom. Yes, it came slightly short on the in terms of an absolute, but yes, it looks like it's going to put a higher low in anyway. As we said this today, I think you mentioned the neckline, and I was looking at the weeklies and everything else, weekly pivot, the quarterly pivot, and the other pivots. There is the potential for that to push through. So. But I'm waiting for that to push through. I've got that on my list here. So it's there we go, guys. I think I'm going to call it a day there, otherwise it gets a long video, and we're not really spotting too much more. So if there's other stuff, we can certainly talk about it in at least one or two of the different rooms. There's loads of them open now, it seems. Whether you're on Discord or whether you're on my Telegram, there's two rooms. Okay, I'm going to wish you a great day, great evening. I'm going to call it a day from this point of view, so I will catch many of you in the morning. If the room link is on the normal YouTube links or on the rooms, so I'll speak to you then. Take care for now.